Have you ever felt like you're just too tired to go on? Like you've done everything you can, but life keeps demanding more from you? Today, I want to tell you a comforting story that comes from the Bible. But more than that, it's a story about hope, about believing, and about how God can provide when it feels like there's nothing left. Let's talk about times when everything seems to be going against us. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough time to get things done. Or perhaps you're worried about not having enough money. You might feel like you just don't have the energy or the resources to handle what's coming at you. But here's the thing to remember. God is really good at turning situations around. God can take what seems like not enough and make it more than enough. There's a story in the Bible, in the book called 2 Kings, chapter 4, verses 1 to 7, about a woman who was really struggling. She was a widow, and her husband had left behind debts that she couldn't pay. People who wanted to collect the money were threatening to take her sons away from her to work as slaves. She was scared and didn't know what to do. She decided to ask for help from Prophet Elisha. The only thing she had in her house was a little jar of oil. For her, that small jar of oil represented what she didn't have. It symbolized her limitations and her worries about not having enough. But God had another idea in mind. Elisha gave her some strange advice. He said, "Go and borrow empty jars from all your neighbors, and don't just get a few, get a lot." This was a big risk for her because she was already in debt, but she trusted Elisha and did what he said. Friends, sometimes God's instructions don't make sense to our logical minds. Faith isn't about understanding, it's about trusting. When life throws curveballs at us, it's easy to look at what we have, our resources, our talents, our energy, and think it's just not enough. But the story of the widow and the small jar of oil shows that sometimes what seems inadequate can actually be more than enough when faith is in the mix. She didn't understand why she had to borrow empty jars from her neighbors, especially when she was already in debt. But she trusted in the guidance she was given, and a miracle happened. The same goes for my own family's experience. We hit tough times when I was growing up, and it seemed like we were always one step away from disaster. But my mom had strong faith. She would tell us, "Don't worry, God will take care of us." And every single time, she was right. We never went hungry. We might not have had a lot, but we always had enough. The message here is that even if you're going through hard times right now, whether it's money troubles, health issues, or problems in your relationships, you have to ask yourself, what do I already have? What can I work with? Then have a little faith and take that first step. No matter how illogical or scary it may seem, the story of the widow is not just an ancient tale. It's a living example that shows God's power to transform lives even today. So, if you find yourself clutching onto your own small jar of oil, doubting its worth, remember that God specializes in taking what seems like not enough and turning it into more than enough. The essence is to start with what you've got, however small or insignificant it seems, because even that little bit can become a whole lot more when you take a leap of faith. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for God to show His glory. You see, the widow's oil didn't just provide for her immediate need. Take, for example, the story of a widow who didn't have much oil left. She used it, but then she found out that she had more than enough to take care of herself and her family for a long time. God didn't just give her what she needed right then. He gave her even more than that. What this means is that you should let God know about your troubles. Tell Him what you're short on. Maybe you don't have enough money, or maybe you're just feeling really stuck in life. Invite God into that situation. Let Him help you out. You might be surprised that He doesn't just solve your problem, but also gives you more than you even hoped for. I have a friend who had this exact experience. She was out of work and feeling really low because she couldn't pay her bills. She was tired from going to a bunch of job interviews and not getting any offers, but she talked to God about it. She said, "God, I don't have much going for me right now, but please use me and help me find a way." Just a week later, she got a phone call from a company she didn't even apply to. They offered her a job that was better than any job she was hoping to get. So, when you are going through a hard time, see it as a chance for God to do something great in your life. Talk to Him about what you need and let Him take care of it. You might find that He does even more for you than you expected. Miracles happen, my friends, but they often start in places of scarcity. Think about the story of a widow who only had a little bit of oil. The focus shouldn't be on what she didn't have, but on how God made that little bit into something big. God can turn what we think is not enough into way more than enough. You see, miracles aren't just stories you hear about from a long time ago or something that only happens to really special people. Miracles can happen to anyone. You, me, your neighbor, anyone who believes that God is strong and loving. I want to tell you about a time in my life when I was feeling really down. I was going through a lot, and I felt like I had lost my connection with God. I'd wake up each morning feeling like something was missing, but I also made a choice. Every morning, I'd thank God for small good things, like hearing a bird sing or getting a smile from someone. This was like my own little jar of oil, the tiny bit of faith I had left. And guess what happened? One day, things started to get better. All those small good things began to add up, filling my life more and more. It felt like God was secretly filling up my life with good stuff, even when I wasn't paying attention. Your special moment, your miracle, could be just about to happen. It might be something big like getting a job you really need or fixing a friendship that's gone sour. Or it might be something deep inside, like feeling at peace even when everything around you is crazy. But for any of this to happen, you've got to start by giving what little you have to God. Trust Him to make it grow. Let's make this really clear. If you're going through hard times or if you feel like you don't have much, don't lose hope. God can take your small things and make them big. Give your problems and what you do have to God, and let Him work His magic. You never know. Your miracle might be closer than you think. Consider the lilies of the field and the birds of the air, so beautifully spoken about in the Bible. They neither toil nor stress, yet God takes care of them. How much more will He take care of you, His precious creation? There's a quote by Mother Teresa that I cherish deeply. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love. It's not about the vastness of our resources, but the vastness of our faith and the greatness of our God. Just as the widow did. Start small. Start with trust, with hope, with that tiny jar of oil you hold in your hands. Remember, dear friends, God isn't looking at the size of your resources. He's looking at the size of your faith. He's not concerned with how much you have, but with how much you're willing to trust Him with. The widow could have dismissed Elisha's words, thinking, "What can this little oil do?" But she didn't. She took a leap of faith, and God honored that. Here's my challenge to you. In your moments of despair, when you feel you are down to your last drop, take a moment. Reflect on the widow's oil. Remember that God is still in the business of turning scarcity into miracles. Embrace your limitations, not as setbacks, but as setups for God to move mightily in your life. Let the story of the widow inspire you to see beyond the present, to envision the vessels filled, to anticipate the overflow. Your circumstances might look bleak now, but God's promise remains. He will provide, He will restore, He will multiply. Hold on to your faith. However small it may seem, keep pouring, keep believing, for in the hands of God, your not enough is about to become an overflow. Just like the widow's oil, may your life be a testament to the miracles that arise from scarcity when placed in the hands of an infinite God. It's in those moments of scarcity and need that we often witness the divine grace and miraculous abundance of God. Think of the widow in 1 Kings 17 verse 8 to 16, who had only a handful of flour and a bit of oil, yet she experienced the endless provision of God. Or consider how Jesus fed thousands with just a few loaves and fishes in Gospel of Matthew 14 verse 13 to 21. Your season of scarcity isn't a punishment. It's a setup for a divine miracle, an opportunity for God to show up and show off His boundless love and provision. So, if you're looking into your jar, and seeing emptiness. Don't be disheartened. That empty jar is just a vessel awaiting God's overflowing blessings. You serve a God who specializes in turning not enough into more than enough. A God who transforms your little into a lot. Your breakthrough, your miracle, is closer than you think. It might be just a prayer away, just a moment of surrendered faith away. So hold on to that faith, cling to that hope, and stand steadfast in your trust in God. Your present circumstances are not your final destination. They are merely the backdrop for the wondrous acts God is about to perform in your life. Keep your faith strong and keep your hope alive. Miracles don't just happen in the Bible. They happen every day, in ordinary lives, through extraordinary faith. All it takes is a shift in perspective and a little faith to see God's hand at work in your life, turning scarcity into abundance, sorrow into joy, and trials into triumphs. And let's share these moments of grace and abundance with each other. If you've been touched by this message or experienced God's miracles in your own life, please share your story. Your testimony could be the catalyst for someone else's miracle. In closing, never underestimate the miracle working power of God. In His hands, your little is indeed a lot, and your season of scarcity is just the prologue to a story of divine abundance. Stay blessed, stay hopeful, and remember, with God, your best is yet to come. Amen.